All right, here we go. 3 days left in the year that is 2009. You got your today, which is Tuesday. You got your Wednesday, and you got your Thursday. Then we go into New Year's Day 2010. Welcome to it, the Parker and the Man page at yournews.com. I'm even matching the little blue on the card there. You see that? And by the way, I hate to say this, but I'm actually wearing a Lions thing. You see, see that right there? Lions issued sweat thing, fleece, if you will. All right, hey, this is the final look back at the 30 or the anniversaries that are part of the Nines. This one happens to be Joe Louis Arena. A couple of days ago, the Red Wings celebrated 30 years of playing hockey at the Joe. I bet you don't know the first event, though, at Joe Louis Arena. Huh? Do you know? I write about it. Should I hold off on that? I'll think about it. It was not hockey, though. The first event, it was not a concert. In fact, it was a sporting event, but it was not hockey. So I write all about the look back at 30 years of Joe Louis Arena and some of the memorable moments and what the Joe has meant to the city and to the Red Wings and how things came about, how it all started, how they left Olympia, and then turned Joe Louis Arena into their own private hockey town heaven, if you will. Maybe the most feared arena to play at in the National Hockey League, especially since some of the great ones have gone, the Montreal Forum, the Gardens of Maple Leaf Gardens and all that. Boston Bruins, of course, the old Boston Garden. Not many great old venues left, and only 3 that don't have sponsorship names on them, and one of those, of course, is Joe Louis, named after the great Brown Bomber, the great boxer of his era, the Detroit legend that is Joe Louis. So there it is. It's you can read all about that and have your own memories and email me at tvboy@yournewsdetroit.com. That's tvboy@yournewsdetroit.com for some of your Joe Louis Arena memories. Good, bad, and the ugly. That was what that was all about back in the early 80s. Remember when they were the dead things and had to give away cars, Mike Ilitch, to get people to come to the games? And some of the other moments. There's a presidential moment at Joe Louis from the early days of the arena. Stretching back 30 years now. So there you go. Read all about that in the Parker and the Man page, yournews.com. Also, the Minnesota Vikings lost to the Chicago Bears in overtime. Brett Favre had a terrific second half after a pretty lousy first half. In fact, first time I think they've been shut out all year in the first half of a football game. Favre came back strong, though. In fact, threw a great touchdown pass to Sidney Rice with 16 seconds left to force the overtime at Soldier Field. And then Jay Cutler really went to work. He had 4 touchdown passes, his 4th of the day. That was his season high. Came at the right after the fumble in the overtime by Adrian Peterson. Hunter Hillenmeyer had forced the fumble for Chicago. They got the ball back next play. Cutler's with the touchdown pass, and the Vikings lose. 3rd time in 4 games. And the Vikings lost a chance for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They're going, which is still good, but boy, they're kind of fading. Brett Favre pulling that fading. But you know what? It's not Favre fading. It's the whole Viking thing. Just like last year, it wasn't Favre all fading with the Jets. The Jets had something to do with that, too. 52 other guys had a hand in that. What I write more about is how weird this Brad Childress is. I just want to say it flat out. He's a weird dude, the head coach of the Vikes. And he had a weird press conference yesterday, or late last night after the game. And I watched all of it, and I still don't get it. So if you know what Brad Childress is talking about, maybe you're from Minnesota or Philadelphia, where he used to be an assistant coach, and know about the whole Childress thing, let me know, because he's a strange cat. Speaking of strange, the Mike Leach story out of Texas Tech, the head coach being suspended for the Alamo Bowl against Michigan State on Saturday. I'm picking Texas. Well, maybe I'm not anymore. I was picking Texas Tech. Maybe I'll pick the Spartans after this story about Mike Leach and Adam Jones, a sophomore who happens to be the son of Adam James, who's the son of Craig James from the old Pony Express. He and Eric Dickerson at SMU. James, of course, an analyst now for ESPN. He was supposed to work the game. He's been pulled off of that assignment because of this incident with his kid. I won't even try to go elaborate here on the webcam, but it's an odd story about the kid with a concussion. They forced him into a dark room, made him stand there for 3 hours, did it twice. And there was a complaint filed by Craig and the family. And Leach has been suspended by the school and right now cannot coach. Now he's supposedly going to go to court to try to get a restraining order or something, so have the ban lifted, the suspension lifted, so that he can coach against the Spartans and Mark D'Antonio, who have their own problems. This one may not be as tough, but this is a pretty weird story too. So check that out on the tweets and feats section of of my column today. Tracy McGrady, you heard it here right first, and you read it here right first. First, of course, always at yournews.com. About the idea that he will be traded by the Houston Rockets. Now, of course, it has come out official that McGrady wants out, does not get along with Rick Adelman. How you trade the $23 million man is going to be a mystery. It's the highest contract in the NBA this year, but McGrady wants out of Houston, and he says he's hungry. He'd play on the moon if he could find a team. Wherever he's got to go, they're going to get a hungry player, according to T-Mac. And I believe it. But, you know, again, $23 million there, Tracy. You want to take a pay cut, and maybe we can work this thing out? That's why I wanted the Pistons to try to make that deal, but it's so hard to trade guys in the NBA. We'll see if McGrady can get that done. Michigan State's final game of the decade comes against Texas. No, not that Texas. They already lost to them once. Texas Arlington, UT Arlington, with a pretty good player in Marquis Haynes. That final game of the decade is tomorrow at Breslin, and then they open the Big Ten season Saturday against Northwestern. Michigan will open their Big Ten actually New Year's Eve day at noon. A noon start on New Year's Eve day. So they have one more game of the decade too, and that is at Indiana against former Spartan assistant Tommy Crean, who is, of course, married to Jim Harbaugh's sister Joni. Whew, got to keep all this stuff straight. And the final thing in there, pretty nice honor for Michigan, former Michigan hockey player Mike Cammelleri. He did something that I guarantee you no one has ever done before. I will guarantee you that. This is the first time this has ever happened. You can read about what that is. I won't give that one away. But Mike Cammelleri, University of Michigan, who played in the early 2000s for Red Berenson, did something no one has ever done before. And you say, what is it? Well, you got to read it. All right, so there you go. You got all that stuff. You got the 30-year look back at Joe Louis Arena. You got the Vikings lost to Chicago and the whole Brad Childress thing. Nut job. So is Mike Leach from Texas Tech. A couple of nut bars there in the coaching ranks. The McGrady deal, MSU and Texas Arlington, and they started the Big Ten basketball season. And Mike Cammelleri doing something no one has ever done before. But I mentioned I'm wearing a Lions-issued fleece from way back when. It's a little old school, but it's cold out. There you go. Check it all out as we count down to New Year's on the Parker Demand page at yournews.com.